Hi, Sanjay. Hi, Sanjay. How are you? Mm,
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Alberto. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How you doing?
Good. So we are going to look at first the portraits of Frida Kahlo, but not from the paintings. We're going to look at um, how she did self-portraits even when she was bedbound, right? So Frida had this incredibly painful life. She suffered a massive spine injury, and she had to be bedbound for a lot of her life. Um, so I think actually one of our students is calling. I'm going to take that, but I want to share the screen with you this morning um, with the images from Frida. So she was incredibly inspiring. By the way, she only sold one painting. Good morning, Angelica. She only sold one painting during her lifetime, right? So and she produced hundreds and hundreds of paintings throughout her life. Um, and she would often work with the paintbrushes next to her bed. And then she had a setup where she had a prop up to be able to support the painting and be able to do it even when she was physically struggling, right? And this is something that today could be something that is very inspirational because as we go through this global healing of COVID and health, how we continue work, right? And how we continue work that's important to us. She never stopped painting. She went to an art exhibition when she was towards the very end of her life. She was at a young age, right, stunning and beautiful, and painting portraits of herself throughout her life. Um, but then she really focused on really understanding her. She drew herself because that's who she had. That was the model that she had in front of her when she was mostly bedbound. And here's another one where good morning, Ayo, where she designed this canvas so that it could be propped in her bedroom, and she could be working at the same time. And Diego Rivera is behind her. So that's an inspiration, right? That's one of those things that today we're going to walk you through the process of feeling your own skeletal structure. It has nothing to do, don't worry, you don't need a mirror. It's not about the psychology of drawing yourself. And we are so obsessed with our faces every morning looking, before we go into public, we put the makeup on or whatever or do our hair or whatever. So none of that. That's not what this lesson is about. In fact, I'm probably going to have charcoal over most of my face today. But it's about really feeling out the architecture and the math that is behind your face. And we will talk about the proportions and the scales today. So we will actually get to work. If you have a piece of paper with you, that's great. You can have pencil. I'm going to be using charcoal just so it's a little bit darker in the video so that you can see what I'm doing. And you don't need anything besides a drawing writing tool and an eraser, okay? So let's stop sharing with Frida. All right. So today you want to notice and you want to take math, okay, with only your fingers. You are going to, just like we were feeling out our hands and taking the math, you want to make sure that you measure as accurately with your fingers as possible. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these measurements and we're going to drop it down on your paper. So it'd be great if you had a paper that is large enough to fit the entire face on, okay? So just measure out. Sometimes the 8.5 by 11 is just about enough to get it on the page. So just measure out, just feel your face, how large it is, right? Feel that side and feel how massive that is. And just make sure that you have that amount of space on your page. That's important. Next, what you're going to do, you're going to feel out, and by the way, there's going to be a whole PowerPoint about self-portraits and how artists have sort of challenged and figured out how to map out the face. But the first measurement is you go from your chin to the bridge of your nose. So you have from the bottom of the chin, and I even take my fingernail and really sort of dig, and into the bridge. The bridge is right here in between your eyes. It's that part where the nose begins, and it's a little crease, so it's right here on the eyes. You're going to take this measurement, and you're going to put it down as a mark at the bottom of your page. You're going to put a mark. Try to keep, again, the measurement as close to what you had, right? If not exactly, freeze your finger so that it's exact, and map out, and just put a little dot on the page where the chin began and where the bridge of the nose is. Okay, mark it there. Next, you're going to take this, and just notice that oftentimes we draw our eyes very high up on the face. If you take the top of your head, okay, the very, very top, and just place your hand there, take this measurement and bring it up. Those two should meet. Okay, so this should be equal to this. Okay, so this and this. So do it on your face and just measure. Everyone has slightly different ones, but this is just the general math that's in most of the human skulls, okay? So you have chin to bridge, bridge to top of your head, okay? That very top part, that brain part, we often neglect it, okay? Which means that if you take this measurement and double it, you're gonna take this measurement that's on the page already and just double it. Understand it's going to go to the very top of the page, and that's the top of your head. So it looks like you have an enormous head on the page, but that's accurate, okay? So this to this, which means, folks, that if you think about it, that bridge of the right here, your eyes are halfway in your head. Okay, we often draw them up here on like 3/4 in the way, but they're halfway. They're exactly halfway. If you put your pencil here, you will see that that pencil is going to go right through your eyes. Okay, so we have that measurement, and that's the size of the entirety of the head, from the bottom and the top. Next, since we have that bridge, you're going to go to the bottom of the nose, and we have 3 noses in our face. So from the bridge to the very bottom, just measure out and see from, if I stop talking, from the chin to the bottom of the nose, that's 1 nose. Then I have the actual nose. And then I have, it goes to the hairline, okay? And again, on some people, the hairline's lower or whatever, but just notice it on your own face. So that means you're gonna take from that bridge, this is the entirety of my head right here. You're gonna go from the bridge, this is the bridge. This is the line, the middle that the eyes are on, all right? And you're gonna go from the bridge to the bottom of the nose, which is about there, okay? Then you're going to just check that this one is almost the same, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay, 1, 2, and then the third one goes to the hairline. Now there's space between the hairline and the top of my head because that's where the brain is, and that's also where the hair is, right? And we often stop drawing the portrait. We stop drawing it at the forehead line instead of taking the brain into account, okay? So just make sure that you have enough space at the top. So we have 3 noses in the face. And stop me if you have questions or if I'm going too fast. Also, you can also, of course, re-look at this video. Now we need to figure out where our next feature is, okay? So we're gonna take the mouth. The mouth is about 1/3 way between the nose and the bottom of the chin. So if you are measuring, you're gonna take from the bottom of the nose to that midline that opens up when we speak, okay? That's the darkest part of your mouth right there. You're gonna take the bottom of the nose to this, bring it down from the bottom of the nose, and you're gonna put a dot down where that lip is. And then just measure how many more spaces like that you have. So you have this, and I have, next one goes to about that crease that goes under. And then the next one is the bottom of the chin, okay? So I have the mouth, and your hands will tell you all of this information. The mouth is gonna be about right there. Then I have another 2 spots before the bottom of the chin. So I'm gonna erase this dot because it's not actually. So this is going to be the chin line. You with me? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Next, we're gonna talk about the eyes. You actually have spaces for 5 eyes in the structure of your face. You have, if you take from corner to corner, I'm talking about the eyeballs now. I'm not going all the way to the nose, but from the beginning of the eyeball to the end of the eyeball, let me just see if anyone's waiting in the waiting room. Yeah, 2 people are still waiting. Let's get those guys in. Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. Sorry that I hope you haven't been waiting in the waiting room so long. All right, we're measuring out the face, okay? And if you just are joining us, we are measuring out and drawing the face based on touch. So we're feeling our architecture. You don't have to have a mirror with you, okay? You're going to measure with your fingers. So again, halfway point for the face is from chin to the bridge, to the middle of where your eyes are, to the bridge of the nose. That's doubled. Get that measurement on the page, okay, and double it up, and you have the whole architecture. We have 3 noses from the bridge to the bottom, chin to the bottom, and bridge to the hairline. Okay, so those are 3, this is a third. Nose is a third of our face, roughly. Everyone has slightly different ones, so just measure it on based on your touch, okay? The next part that we're going to go over is eyes. You have, again, you're going from the eyeball to the eyeball, and if you have this marked down already, where you have, this is the bridge of the nose, which is the line that your eyes are going to fall on. You can also, if you want to give yourself a center point, you can go this way down, vertically down, and that will be the middle of your face here, so that we can think about where your eyes are. So you have the measurement of your eye. You're going to take the eyeball, take the size of that, and put it down. Okay, so I have eyeball on this side. The next space is between the eyes, and it's roughly the size of an eyeball. So if you take the measurement of your eye, go to the middle, and it's going to be from the beginning of your eye to the beginning of your eye, okay? And that should be about the same space. So there's a space enough in the middle between the eyes that's the size of my. You have the actual eye over here, and then the measurement for the 4th eye is over here, and it goes to your hairline right here, as well as over here. However, when we draw, right, when we're looking at the face this way, these angles go back in space, which means they should be a little bit shorter than an eye. So this is what it looks like, all right? You have, and if you're just jumping in, understand that we've gone over a few things, so you might have to rewind on this video, right? We have the bottom of the nose, we have the mouth that we measured out, we have the chin. Now we have the eye over here. You take the measurement of the eye, make sure that there's enough space that's about the size of the eye between this and here. Then you take the second eye, all right? You have a measurement right here. So space, eye, space, second eye. And then if you wanted to, you can put another eye on each end, but just have it be a little bit shorter because that plane of the eye right next to it, next to the temples, goes back. So that means this space is not going to be as big as the eye. It's going to be a little bit less. So I'm just going to put a mark where my temples end. Okay, so now I have the eyes. You can give yourself a round pupil right in the middle of them. By the way, these are going to look like aliens. These are going to look like your relatives. So just know that that's normal. All right, so the last feature to think about is to measure out your ear. All right, we often neglect drawing the ears. But the measurement is, if you take from the bottom of the nose to either the bridge, some people go to the bridge, but you can go also to the eyebrow line, to the one right above, right, that line. And if you take that measurement and go directly to the side, you should hit the bottom and the top of the ear, okay? So take that measurement, feel it out. And those of you who are joining us, if you're just feeling it out, that's a good start, because when you do touch and when you really feel things out, you gain muscle memory, and then it becomes intuitive of how to draw that thing, okay? So just practicing and feeling your face and feeling out the proportions and the measurements is enough, okay? So you take the eyebrow line, bottom of the nose, and just feel out. If you go to the side, if you hit the bottom and the top of the ear, okay? Which means in drawing that if you have your drawing like this, right, you have the 2 eyes. For the ears, say I have my eyebrow above the eye right there. The bottom of the nose is here. I'm going to go directly to the side here. I'm going to go up here. I have large ears, and that just connects to the ears. And same thing on the opposite side. Here, eyebrow here. So that's the top and bottom of my ear. All right, now we need to think about the width of the face. All right, so we have the length of it. We have this measurement. We need to now consider the mass of this. The face is like an upside down egg. You have that wide base at the top. So an egg always comes with a wide mass, and then it goes down to a narrower, pointier part over here. And the head, the face, is almost like an egg that's tipped this way. So you have the mass here, ending with the point over here. So it's like if you took an egg and pointed it in this direction with an egg coming out this way, okay? All right, so width of the head, right? You wanna take the top, the widest part of your head is right here in between the brain. And if you take, for most people, if you take the thumb to the middle finger as wide as possible, that seems to be the width of that. You can feel it on your own skeletal structure. That seems to be the width of that face. So you can take that measurement, go down to your portrait, and just put it at the very, the top part, the one that's at the very top to your hairline. Just put the mark somewhere over here. If you want to be symmetrical, you can put the mark down and the mark down over here, okay? And you know that this is the vertical midline, so you try to span your fingers as wide as you can at the very, very top. Next part comes the forehead, right? So you can take the forehead measurement width. And again, you can, you know, if I'm going too fast, feel free to rewind, pause on some things. You'll just get the general gist, and you can repeat it whenever you want to. So you have the temples around the forehead. So again, the forehead begins, this is the hairline, this is the forehead that is right above the eyes. So the span of the temples, take that measurement, put it down. And again, the temples are not the edge line, right? Our hair goes over that. Our hair will continue over that, but this will give you an idea of where the top section is. The next is the cheekbones. Okay, so the width of the cheekbones. This is a hard one because you have to go around your nose. Your nose blocks that. So you take the width of that, put it down, give yourself a mark. And the last place at the bottom is going to be the jawbone, right around your mouth. Okay, so feel that out, come down to the page, and just give yourself a mark. All right, and now it's like connecting the dots. So you have something like this, right? And you go and you connect from the very top. You go, this is the topmost part. Over here is the width of the brain. You can go down to the temples, but know that the hair is going to go around that. Connect to the jaw, and it goes in for the cheek. All right, but the hair is going to continue. So the wide part is up here and gets narrower over here. And again, you don't have to fuss over it. This will look funny, and that's okay. All right, so you have a general egg shape on your paper. At this point, it's time to think about how the light affects the form. All right, all of us, when you have light or the sun coming from the top, anything that pokes out, right, will have a highlight because the light is hitting that part that pokes out. Anything that goes in for the eye sockets, underneath the nose, in the middle of the mouth, underneath in that little divot area over here, it gets a shade, and certainly the whole of the face because it protrudes forward, usually casts the shadow on the neck, okay? So in drawing, again, the contrast is the only thing that's going to give you a three-dimensional form. So what we're going to do now is see if you can, first we need a layer of particles on the page, anything that you're drawing. So you're going to take, even though you took that measurement, you can always take that measurement again, cover the entire paper with particles. Okay, you can continue if you have room for your neck, you can continue with that. So cover it once. If you're using charcoal, feel free to give it a nice tone. If you're using pencil, just take a little time to shade over the entire area because now we're talking about light again, light, medium, and dark. All right, so everything that you just erased, you covered over, but you can still see a little bit of the marks where things are, all right? So now it's time to think about, you're going to have an eraser and a pencil or whatever material you're using. And you want to erase all the parts that poke out. The first part, again, is the forehead. You can feel out the shape of the forehead. You can feel out if it's 4 fingers that cover your forehead or if it's 5. And when you bring it down to your page, you can think about that mass at the very top, and we're going to erase that whole thing. So you have that little mark for where the hairline started. You want to erase the whole of the forehead, the mass of the forehead. All right, so your forehead is gone. If you're using pencil, the great thing about charcoal is that it covers a mass amount, and it will also, for the there's these kneaded erasers that look like chewing gum that take up the particles and pick them right up. So it's a quick way to draw, get particles on and take particles off. So it's easy. It's a little bit easier than drawing and faster. The next part is the nose. The nose is about the width of your finger. You can take the width of your finger, and I tend to put my thumb at the very, very bottom to feel out the thickness of my nose and where it ends. And I take it down to the drawing, okay? And erase for the nose. It's almost like a stick and a ball at the bottom, okay? It goes directly into your forehead, so you can feel free to erase that. So you have that mass, and then you have nostrils on each side, so you can erase those because those get highlighted too. So it looks like, again, we're going to be drawing mug shots and alien forms. Just know that eventually this will turn into the self. We have more of a math. We know our faces so well, and the math is in our hands. So you have that. By the way, if you want to think about where the mouth and nose end, right, where they begin and end, you want to think about if you have the pupils in the center of your eyes. This is a great thing. When you take the pupil, you can go from the beginning of the pupil straight down, and it's going to hit the corner of your mouth. So again, if you take a pencil, go and look straight ahead, you have the pupil, and it should hit right to the corner of the mouth. Sometimes the nose also goes right to the pupil or to the beginning of the eye, okay, depending on the measurement. So you have from here, you have the pupils right here, and you can think about going straight down to see where the corner of that mouth is. Straight down here, corner of the mouth here, all right? For the nose, it's going to be either the pupil that can extend right here, or the beginning of the eye, which will be the mark that you had at the very beginning to get to the side of the nose. Okay, so now we have that. Anything again that goes in will get a layer of shadow. So you want to put a layer of either pencil or whatever you're using, and just go around the socket. You can feel out your eye socket first. I'm a big, as you noticed, yeah, you feel it out. When you feel it out, your hand again figures out that space. All right, so put a little shade. Where the sockets would be. Now the next part that pokes out is going to be your cheekbones. Your cheekbones poke out to protect your eyes. We have a big brow that gets erased, but underneath the eye, to protect the eye, you have the cheekbones. So you want to feel out the cheekbones and start erasing these. The cheeks do connect to that whole space of the cheek, and that can get a bit of light. So that connects all the way down around the nose and down to the chin. The chin is the last part that pokes out. We'll talk about the mouth in a little bit, but the chin really gets a highlight. So you can connect the cheeks going all the way down. and erase those. So if some of you have facial hair, Alberto, I don't know if you're rocking your facial hair or not, but you want to think about adding a layer. If you're having facial hair, then you can add a layer at the very, very edge. This is when I start to look like my father, right? The drawing starts. But anyway, you can add facial hair as you wish, right, around. The next step, the nose protrudes out, which means it usually casts shadows, and you can add particles underneath the nose. So you have that bulb at the bottom. We add shadow there. And now we're going to go into that mouth section that's always such an interesting part. So the side of the face looks something like this. You have lower lip, bottom lip, and chin. All right, so you have the light hits the top of the nose. The light hits, there's a little crease at the very top of the upper lip. That's why if you look at each other, sometimes at the very upper lip, there's like a highlight there. That's because the upper lip points out and sticks out, and the light hits it, the sun hits it in such a way that it sort of highlights. It's a natural lip liner, ladies. You don't have to put lip liner on. You have a natural highlight at the very, very top. Then there's a shadow area, right? Underneath the nose, there's a shadow area. The upper lip, because it cuts in, usually gets a shadow area, and it's usually darker. The next part that we erase is the lower lip, because it pokes out. If you look around at your family members or anyone around, the lower lip generally tends to be lighter, so you can highlight that. And then right underneath that, there's a shadow area over here for that part that goes in before the chin pokes out again, okay? So in drawing, it looks like this. You have the shadow area underneath the nose. The midline for the lip, sorry, I'm getting confused with my facial hair here. I'm gonna take that out. You have the darkest part of your lip is that midline, right between the two lips. So you can make that a bit darker. If you want to, once we start adding expression, if you want to open your mouth, you would just make that line darker and bigger. Next, you're going to take, you know, you can take the upper lip and the valleys and peaks that the lip generally has, right, with that dip in between. So that could be darker, but the bottom lip is going to be erased. Before it gets that kind of shadow area there. And you have your chin. Okay, so we have that. You can take a eraser and highlight that upper lip again, just a little bit. With the nostrils, because we're not drawing the nostrils looking up, when you look at nostrils directly going in, they're basically outline the bottom of the nostrils right there and give you just a little dark for the nose. All right, so you have the nostrils, and that gives the illusion that there's space and there's breath. So you have just a little breathing room right there, darkness, right? And the whole thing, right? If you're drawing the neck, the whole thing could be outlined with. It could be a real shade and darkness for the neck. By the way, the neck extends directly from the ears out. We often draw it very thin, right? But that wouldn't be able to support you can have it go a little bit in, but it won't support the massiveness that is your head. Are you with me? Let's see, I'm looking at this from the side. I have no idea what this looks like from the front. Again, it's about the process, not about the final product. Okay, so let's consider the eyes, because we can't feel the eyeballs so well. So you're gonna have to do it in theory. You're going to place the eyeball again on that midline. So think about that bridge of your nose, okay? So most of the time we want to lift the eyes higher because they're so important. We communicate through them, but make sure that they stay on that bridge. I'm going to bring actually my eyeball quite a bit down. Same thing with this one. That center of pupil is very, very dark. The eye stands out right away when you put, there's white triangles at the front and the back of our eyeball, which you can put in because the eyeball is white, right? So you have that contrast between having a triangle here and a triangle on the opposite side. And suddenly you'll start seeing a person. Just so great. I mean, it's just a few shapes. You have a circle and then you have triangles and suddenly there are the eyes. You with me? Questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts? Is it starting to look like you? Does anyone want to share? All right, we'll share it at a little bit towards the end, but certainly if you want to, if you have questions, if you want to put your drawing up, just let me know, okay? I'd love to see it. With the eye, right, and everything else on the face, the darkest part of you is going to be the hair that outlines your entire face. So the hair at the top, but also, of course, facial hair. You have eyebrows. The eyelashes are going to be incredibly dark. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to switch to a darker charcoal if I can find it. You want to think about when you're drawing your hair, it's like you were brushing your hair in the same way. So for me, you have hair that is coming in right around on the hairline, and I'm going all the way to that top end. Right, when we talked about the measurement, this is the same as this part. So make sure that you go all the way to the top. Don't neglect the section. You're going to draw the hair in the same way that you would brush it. Right? If you style it up, certainly you can go out, right? You can make the hair massive. Understand that the hair continues from around the temple area, around, it can go behind the ears, it can also go in front of the ears, and then it picks up right here, the bottom. Okay, so you can take that, you can do, and again, it's substantially darker, so don't be afraid to push on your pencil or pen or whatever it is you're using. You're going to be drawing it around. Really, really dark. Even if you have, you know, light hair, whatever hair you have, but certainly get it at least a shade, if not shade or two, darker than the face. This should be a real 10, okay, from on your value scale. Again, the next part that has darkness is going to be your eyebrows. So right at the end of that socket, you want to give yourself a bit of eyebrows. And the eyebrows communicate a lot. If you are scared, we often forget how much we communicate through our face. Now that we wear masks, they're even, you know, the eyebrows are even more expressive, right? If you lift the eyebrows up, they say something. If you bring the eyebrows in, right, that's kind of a worried look. So this will, you can play with the amount of particles you add in certain sections for the different expression that you might want. So you have your eyebrows that are dark. Next comes the eyelashes. And that's what gives you the almond shape to your eye. You want to think about the eyelashes coming at the very edge. And because we often see the bottom of the pupil, but the top of the pupil is cut with the eyelashes, okay? So unless you're terrified, like if you have a terrified expression, you'll see the top of the pupil, but other than that, unless you want to make a terrified expression, you can cut right through the top part of that eyeball and continue the eyelashes at the very rim. Okay, and because our eyeballs are round, I cut through that. They also have an upper eyelid, but the eyelid, it catches light. So if our eyeball is, let's see if I can do an eyeball from the side. You have an eyeball here. The top part of it, because it curves out, it's going to catch a bit of a highlight, which looks like this. If you take your eraser and just edit right on top of the very dark line that you put for your eyelashes, you have an upper eyelid here and upper eyelid here. The center part of over here and over here by the nose get really dark, but there also is a muscle right here that women tend to highlight in their makeup that you can edit out here and here. There's a muscle that sort of covers that area. Unless you're very sleep deprived, you're not going to have these bags underneath your eyes, so you can come in with your cheekbone over here. And you can also add a darker line because you have eyelashes that are at the bottom of your eye, which again, complete that sort of almond shaped look. And oftentimes, because the eyes are what we speak through, right? We really look into each other's eyes and communicate through the eyes. We often make the eyes huge because we want to stress the importance of that expression. However, really measure and see how accurate you can be. My pupils certainly are not this large. You want to edit some of that out. But again, it depends on what kind of drawing and what you want the drawing to say. So at this point, you can play with the emotions that you want to display, and it's just erasing and adding and finding what kind of drawing, what kind of emotion do you want it to have. If you want to have a bit of a smile, there's a bit of a crack over here on the edges. There's muscles that go there. So now you can really play with this face and figure out there's a little bit of around the mouth and around the teeth over here that could be erased. Again, unless you have a mustache or you're working with facial hair. But all of this stuff can get erased, all right? The last thing that we never talk about or people never draw, you have these ears, right? But we're not looking at the ears from the side, we're looking at them going straight back. So it looks like when you're looking at it, you have a dark line over here at the beginning of the curve, then you have a real darkness for the space for the sound to enter here. But you also have this, if you feel your ear, you have this kind of cartilage in the front that's blocking you know, the wind that comes in. So you can highlight that part. So what it looks like in terms of drawing is you want to think about, there's that thing that protects, that cartilage that protects the center of my ear from wind. There is a light at, oh, there we go, cartilage. There's a light at the very top of the ear that continues down to the bottom, right? For ladies, if you want to start doing earrings, or gentlemen too, of course, you have a light part on the outside, light part over here. Then you have a real dark part. The acoustics of the ear is fantastic because it has all these curves. You have the sound, you have the curvature over here that goes into the sound, the dark part over here into your ear. But you have actually multiple of these sort of acoustic layers, light, dark, light, dark. Okay, so if next time you are sitting next to someone and they allow you to stare at their ear, have fun drawing the light and the darks of the ear. It's really great to kind of discover the cartilage and how it goes, the light section, and then the dark section, and how that, you know, that's how we hear. It's pretty incredible. So have a look, right? And it's again, light, medium, dark, that's all it is. Okay, so ear. If you don't want to bother with the ear, anyone with long hair, right, you can just cover. There it goes. A lot of artists tend not to bother with the ears. But again, it's a nice little feature to try to figure out. And it's all about curves. It's all about light, how it hits that form, light, medium, and dark. Any questions from this exercise? This is again one to share in the discussion forum. You know, if it started looking like your brother or a sibling, or you can put that into. It's something that you practice, especially if you have photographs of relatives or yourself, right? This is something to keep in mind, the form, the math behind it, that there is a mathematical formula. You can even practice it on when you have a face or a photograph of somebody. You can measure out. I usually use a pencil or the tip of a pencil to measure out, okay, where's the halfway point in their head? What about that other mass on top? The most important thing that, that beginning drawers do or painters do for their portraits is that they lift this part and have this huge in comparison to the rest of the head. So if you just keep that measurement in check to have the eyes right at the midline of your drawing, the more realistic it's going to look. All right, I'm open for questions, guys. Let me see your drawings. Be brave. It's okay if it looks like a mess, if it looks like you're grandma, if it looks like you're alien. It's all right. Let me see it, and we can work through maybe some of the tricky sections. And there's many, right?
Okay, I
Again,
think
don't worry about. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think my measurements are really off.
Okay.
Maybe once I put the dots, then I kind of got, so it doesn't look like a. Anyway, we have to learn, right? So
Yeah, no,
might
absolutely.
as well. I'll show you.
Please. Yes, that's it. Right, exactly. And you're exactly like when we begin to draw, right? Those eyes and that bridge has to be halfway in that head, which means that Angelica, for you, it should be about halfway through the nose, right? So take the eyes
So
and
around
bring them
here?
exactly. Bring them
Okay.
there.
So
right?
the eyes have to be around here, right?
Exactly, right at the right, and the nose can go lower. We also made this part a bit big. So remeasure, and when you're drawing, no, this is how it goes. When you measure in the second round, when you're shading after you've done shading and you did the measurement once, just go through it again and just see how accurate you are, and make sure that you. This is easy to change. These are just particles. You can shift these things around all the time. Don't feel like if you made a mark, you have to stick to it, right? Remeasure, re-feel it. The more you feel it, the more it will match what you're doing. So have the measurement, go there, make sure that the eyes are right at the bridge of that nose, and that you leave enough space for the brain. We neglect it.
I have a question in regards of the nose, for example. I missed the part when you started to shade, form the nose. Maybe can you tell me again?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's, ready. Okay, so take the whole thing.
Oh,
this is a practice. This is what you do. This is why it's important, all right? You're just gonna layer it in. Not a problem. We get this going one more time. Great.
Okay.
So you have the shade over the entire thing. You know that your measurement for your eyes will be halfway through. Okay, so you can remark it. You can think about, okay, the measurement is going to be here because that's halfway through my face. Let's make sure. Adding another layer, by the way, just adds to the contrast of the drawing. So there's not a problem with it.
Okay.
So you take it, put it up. Okay. Make sure that that's where the middle of the nose is. And if you want to give yourself a line for the eyes, just feel free to do that. Just put a line where the eyes are going to be so that you don't move them up later. All right. The next part, again, is going to be erasing first the forehead. You're going to feel that out. So you're going to take the whole thing. You can feel it, feel out your own forehead, put it on the page. And because we're doing one-to-one, we're looking at doing exactly the measurements that you have on your face. You're not making them smaller or larger. You're going to take the whole thing. Erase that forehead one more time. Okay. Now the forehead dips right into that nose. So you can make it right in the middle of your face. You can put a little highlight in the middle where your nose is going to start. Then what I do is I take my thumb and my finger and feel the thickness of my nose, which is about the thickness of one finger, and go to the bottom of my nose with my thumb, and I just bring it to the page. Okay, so the measurement goes there, so that I know that my nose is going to end here, and I'm going to erase it by going down with the thickness of my finger, so it could be quite wide. And then there's a little ball. You can all feel out the ball at the bottom of your nose. And then there's little triangles right here on the edges for the nostrils. So you can feel out their little highlights, okay? So you have that ball over here, you have your nose over here, and then that curve. That nose curves down, and then nostrils are just at the side. So I erase that, okay? Now for the nose to really stand out, you want to put a darkness underneath the nose for the nostrils. So they're just curves at the bottom for air to come in. And you also have a shade right here at the edge of your nostrils that corresponds to your pupils, to your eyes. So for this section, for the width of the nose, you can put in your pupils in the center of your eye. Again, make sure that those eyes remain at the side of the nose halfway in your face. And then you can go to some nostrils go to the pupil line, right? Over here and over here. Some nostrils go to the beginning of the eye. So if the eye starts over here and over here, you put the edges of that right over here. And you have something that resembles a nose, right? This is just one way. This is what Da Vinci found out when he was digging up dead people and excavating the features, the muscles, the math behind it. So 3 noses in a face, 1, 2, 3 to the hairline, 5 eyes. You have the triangles of the eyes. You have 1, 2 for the space in between, 3, and just double check that this part and this part is a little bit less than 1 eye. So this part I would edit a little bit out and get that ear going. A little bit here. Okay, so you have 5 eyes, 3 noses. The mouth is again a third of the way up. So the mouth, you can take the measurement to the midline of your mouth, take that mark, put it down, draw that dark line for the mouth, the center, and from there you can again bring the pupils of the mouth, that's where your mouth ends. The pupils taken down, that's where your mouth ends. Pupils taken down. Unless you're singing or dancing or whatever, or obviously the mouth can open wider. You have your upper lip in darkness, while the lower lip gets a highlight. All right, underneath the nose, we didn't talk about the cheekbones yet. The cheekbones will get erased. They could be substantially erased. You can go directly from the nose, around the cheeks, all the way down to the chin. The reason we're doing this again is because, again, drawing portraits, just like the hand, is one of the more challenging things to do, but there's innate math that as long as you sort of get used to the math, it becomes second nature, and you can go on painting family members, painting whoever you want to paint.
Wow.
Questions?
So pretty.
Thank you. 20 years of drawing. 5 minutes, right? Charcoal over. That's okay. Sanjay, anyone? Ayala, Karine, Mary, Stella, any bravery in showing us your images and checking?
I couldn't keep up at all, so I'm just gonna rewatch the video and go step by step.
Perfect. That's fine. That's fine. That's why it's going to be recorded.
I came here late, Professor, so I'm going to rewatch so that I can have a good.
As long as you can touch your face, right? The key is to really feel it out in your architecture, in your skeletal structure. When you feel it out and really map it out, it's so much easier than looking in the mirror and trying to somehow translate what you see onto the page. Really feel it. Everything that pokes out is going to get a highlight. Everything that goes in, like the sockets underneath the nose, underneath the mouth, in the mouth, right? That's why that's such a dark space. If you look at each other, even on the video, this is the dark space. This is the dark space. The eyes are certainly a dark space around the sockets. And then there's muscles, right? First, you get the skeletal structure of the highlights, the darks, that's your skeleton. And then the muscles sort of cover over and patch up the transition between the socket and the muscle of the cheek. And when you do that, when you feel it out, you know the direction to draw. That's the direction. It's almost as if when you're drawing, you want to pet the face. You want to feel it like if you're touching that face, you want it so that the forehead could be erased in this direction, and it's going to get that three-dimensional look to the drawing. Play with it. It's super fun. It's yeah, it's one of those things that again can bring you know when you're at work, when you have 15 minutes, take a break. Dry your face from touching it. All right. Any questions? Yeah.
I have a Not just a question, but it has to do with the class where we draw the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the second part of it?
Right, that second pair, the shading never actually happened. So that the Wednesday class had the shading in it. Okay, so then when we talked about the article, the Krishnamurti article, that's when the shading happened. So the second video, because we didn't have the Zoom through RCC yet. Now we have Zoom through RCC, so there's no interruptions, there's no breaks, and we get to just do the whole course. But the second part never got recorded. We did it, it didn't record. So, so that's why we ran over it on Wednesday. I believe that there's a wrong date on the face. So disregard the date of the 11th, I think, and we're going to just play around with the self-portrait over the weekend. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me and email me, and then just import them into whatever you have, right? Import them into the discussion forum. The one thing that I am looking for this week is your student survey. We're going to start talking about, I'm still going to introduce lots of artists for the next 2 weeks in slideshows. You're going to get a slideshow on self-portraits this weekend, just for inspiration. And then it's time to think about adding your voice and your perspective to the art story, right? Art history is something that's written, usually from one point of view, but we've been expanding that. Now it's time to think about what it is that you want to say, and then how best visually to say it, okay? Again, there's no need to purchase any materials. You can do that from everyday materials. If you draw or write your message in the sand or whatever it is, that can count, okay? And I will give you more definition of other student projects that are really vital for this time and really interesting. A lot of the folks during Corona in the spring semester really had to be tremendously creative to create their message, and they came up with outstanding projects. So I will share those with you next week, something for you to start thinking about, but the student survey really starts you thinking and generating ideas about what it is that right now is vital and important to say, to put on, you know, if you're going to share it on just social media, that's enough, because there's so much that is being bombarded from outside. It's important to have your voice, your part in the history written and put down on paper, whether that's a visual. By the way, you don't have to draw your final or paint your final. If you like drawing and painting, fine. If you want to say it in word, great. If you want to do it in music, excellent. If you want to do it in dance, whatever your thing is, express it. There is a fantastic poem that I'm going to put into my RCC. It's by the Prime Minister of New Zealand, shared it about the coronavirus and how interesting it is in terms of the environment, right? When human beings stop, there's a potential for something else to start, and give Mother Nature a bit of a break from us. Okay, I think that for today we are good. I will stay on for anyone who wants to cover the portrait one more time in terms of math. Otherwise, you're welcome to go. I'm looking for the student survey. That's this week. And look for the PowerPoint on self-portraits. And I'm excited to see what you come up with this weekend. And if there's nothing else, feel free to go.
Hello, Professor.
Yeah,
hello?
That's all, Mary. That's it. That's it. We just went over the self-portrait because I think some people might want to use their self-portrait in their final, perhaps. So that's something so that you know your architecture really well. And it's very interesting when you draw other people, you in fact tend to draw more yourself than others. And I'll share a project with you next week.
I have a question.
Yes, Alberto.
For the final project, because so I don't know if you got I already posted my survey, and I already started because for me I'm really like enjoying the work on it actually.
Good.
And I already started, so it's gonna be kind of a big piece, and I'm gonna do with the music and video and a piece because there is no way I can show you my piece if I don't record it.
Yeah.
so I have to record it because I cannot bring to school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and I'm gonna use music and make the video. But when I'm done, what I download, they're gonna be.
So
I send you or how?
I think the video is challenging with the size of the file, and generally what I tend to do is I take this video and I put it on YouTube, and I just upload it to YouTube, because there's enough room in YouTube to post, and then I share the link, because it's hard to, it's not going to be something that you will be able to email. However, with this platform, we can also, for the final critique, which is going to happen on Friday the 26th, the last day of our class, for the final critique, I can also share your screen, or you can share your screen, and that way you don't have to, it will be part of, you don't have to import it anywhere. The hard part is you're not going to be able to put it into my RCC because they don't have a big enough download. So it's something that you might just share with us that the day of, and if you could possibly figure out how to put it into YouTube, then you can share the link with us. Outside of that, I think it's going to be difficult to, you're not going to be able to email the file. It's hard. Video is a challenging medium just because of the sheer size that it, so that might be hard. But I think the video and sound, especially now, is very interesting. Sound is the way that we touch now, right? In coronavirus, this is what it is. And so the quality of the sound, the quality of the voice, matters. It's just another way of making artwork. Sound and vibrations are the same as color. We're going to go into that a little bit next week. So the quality of the sound and the quality of music or video it could be an artistic, and is an artistic medium. So that's exciting.
Yeah, because it's more like about the piece that I'm creating. Is the music could just give you more emotion to the piece. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if ever chance, some artists do that. They create a piece, and when they put the music on, you kind of like give life to the piece. So I need the music. That's why the video will be better if you see, because the music kind of like bringing memories, like the words and all that involve the piece. So I can do on Friday, like with everybody, like in the final project showing.
Yes.
But I think the final video, the whole thing complete, is gonna be better because I have to use two type of music.
So you can share pieces of it. If you can figure out YouTube, you can share pieces of the process also next week. You don't have to wait until the final if you want feedback. Sound is particularly interesting. And if you notice in coronavirus, the first thing that emerged were people singing, right? Using their voice to connect with other people. So in quarantine, the one way to reach another human being was through sound, through music. Yo-Yo Ma did the cello piece. There's a cello piece that he did the first week and just posted it on YouTube, right? Just understanding that sound is just another way to express yourself and to create artwork. It's art. It's tangible. Just because it's immaterial doesn't mean that it's intangible. That is not, vibrantly important. Actually, our cells vibrate to certain attunement. So it's a huge, strong, powerful way to express yourself.
I decided to do a tribute to the nurses and doctors. They're all working. So that's my piece is about. So it's going to be very interesting. I hope.
Excellent. Right. Yeah. Last semester, I had a student who was not. She was adamant that she was not into art at all, and she was absolutely terrified. But she ended up doing just messages for the workers in front of her home hospital, like "Thank you," "Stop," "Pause," "Breathe," "We love you." Just messages, and then the workers were taking photographs on top. So she did cover the entire street with messages for the workers. In shock, so it's not graffiti or anything like that. Although graffiti is really interesting right now. So she paved the way to express thanks and express, love for the workers, because it's interesting. We define essential workers, and at the same time, they don't get the essential pay that they need, right? So, and that goes for any worker. You have grocery workers, you have anyone that is working, anyone that is out and about, that is in risking their life. Many of you, right? And it's not, the economics of this play hand in hand. It's really yeah, there needs to be a restructuring, but giving the label essential now needs to be matched by, if that is the label, then those are the people that should be paid the most, perhaps, right? Essential meaning, yeah. Any other thoughts? I'm going to go into the final project a little bit next, obviously in more detail next week, about where you're going to get your percentage and what I'm expecting, and how much work you should be investing into this. For some of you, it's the opposite. For some of you that are overworking, there's a project from Bulgaria. An artist from Bulgaria in the 60s, I believe, made a piece about lying down and sleeping. He photographed himself taking a nap and calling it art. He called it artist at work. And that's very interesting because we often associate work with production and being really active and, you know, running around. However, it's the running around that's destroying the planet. So maybe it's important for human beings to, in fact, think about rest as a vital activity. So for some of you, it might be the opposite of actually creating a tangible piece. And it might be something like a meditation and recording yourself doing that and doing, you know, nothing as opposed to activity. Okay. So don't get overwhelmed with thinking that you have to create and how you're going to create and where you're going to get the materials. You have everything you need. So let's work from that. Any questions or any thoughts about and any concerns? Do you in fact have everything you need? Stella?
Hello, Professor.
Yeah, Mary.
Yeah, talking about the artwork, I believe it's not only drawing or painting, it's artwork. There are many things we can do in artwork, like sewing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Weaving.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it did the final and the projects, the examples that I'm giving you, because we're in art, I'm giving you a little bit of art technique, right?
Okay.
You can take that and use it, or you can understand that artwork is, again, it's not what you are doing, it's how you're doing what you're doing. So if you're paying attention to dancing in the moment, if you're paying attention to sewing, right, and what that does, the fabric of life, and there's and certainly artists, there are examples of artists using any material that you can think of to create something meaningful out of it. So it could be out of any material. I don't care about the material. I don't care about what you're using. I care about how you are using it. Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Ayel, Karine, Stella, Sanjay, any questions?
No, all set.
All right. All right. Looking forward to the drawings. And then I think there's also going to be a discussion. Some folks who missed the article talk on Wednesday, feel free to post. I will open up a folder for on nature and the environment if you want to continue that discussion with each other, because I think it holds some keys to artwork. Yeah, and more art coming your way. All right, and I will see you on Monday for another class next week to prepare for your finals. All right.
Have a weekend.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Take a rest, take a break.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.